Hello and welcome to a live version of Upon Further Review here on the StreamYard platform alongside Eric Dukevich. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith, and we're coming to you live for this kind of a summer recap, an early look at to what we're going to see looking forward here come the start of the season. We're going to be joined by Snider head football coach Kurt Tippman here a little bit later on. But Eric, little earlier than we normally do these things, middle of July. And matter of fact, it's my birthday today. So
Well,
happy birthday to me. The old man is 56. But I guess the biggest thing from your perspective, what are some things that maybe you've heard throughout the summer that kids are looking forward to this season?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, happy birthday. Good to be back here with you. We had one season under our belt last year, so we're back at it and looking in again this summer. And exciting to have another season of Upon Further Review and all the different things that we do together. Yeah, I mean, the summer has flown by, the season flew by, the school year flew by. We always say, here we are in the summer again. And I think what jumps out to me so far is I think the big story in our city is going to be the return of Carroll. They get down to the 6A state championship a year ago at Lucas Oil Stadium. They fall in that final. And for them, it was that dream season. I mean, they came off the adversity of this time last year, dealing with the passing of Owen Sheely and just rode a lot of those emotions to Lucas Oil Stadium. And then they, looking at them over the summer, coach, they were really impressive at the PSM 7-on-7. I know they won that running away. They also looked really good at their own Summit City shootout at Carroll 7-on-7. So I think for me, that's kind of the big question is where does Carroll pick up from where it left off a year ago? And I think that's to me the most intriguing storyline coming into last year, because Jimmy Sullivan is still there, Hanson Hafner is still there, and a lot of those guys are still there that we've seen the last couple of years just look really good and kind of become that team in the area, and looking to get back down and make a deep run for sure.
Yeah, and now that there's a lot of changes that have occurred over the years that gives coaches more hands-on with the kids throughout the summer. Of course, a lot of them now are just coming out of the camp season, the moratorium, and now they're starting to gear up to getting towards the preseason camp of things. But we're going to talk a little bit here about the conference schedules and how that's changed from over the years, because we got now the non-conference schedule. And who better else to kind of give us a lowdown on all that is Snider head football coach Kurt Tippman. Kurt, welcome. Thanks for coming on here on a quote-unquote live version of Upon Further Review. So we're either going to crash and burn or we're going to come out smelling like roses. But first and foremost, I'm sure you've had a great summer.
Well, it's good to be talking football with you guys here. Still July, but the summers, nowadays seem more and more like the beginning of football season. So it's certainly close to being upon us. Yeah, we've had a good summer. I feel like we've been productive and, ready to get into August and September.
Let me ask you this, and maybe you can kind of give a brief synopsis of kind of what your schedule is from that end of school there in the May and how it transitions to, into the June. And then of course now, and how that leads up to, your official camp starting dates and such. So, because I think a lot has changed over the years where you coaches get a little bit more hands-on with your kids through the summer.
Yeah, it has changed a lot, but I would say that, as coaches, you got to be careful because, although the rules allow you to do a whole lot more football, I don't know that it's always wise to extend high school kids 2 more months into a season and expect them to be fresh, at the most crucial point in the season, in October and November. So,
yeah,
although we've increased the amount of things that we do, we also are very, very vigilant about making sure that it's not something that we're dragging on them all month of June and July and banging into each other and doing a bunch of that by the time we get around to the crucial part of the season, they're worn out, and we kind of pride ourselves in our program and being at our best when it comes to those championship type game settings in October and November. And to make a long tournament run, you can't underestimate, kids want to keep coming out and practicing each week, because if they're tired and they're worn out and they're tired of crashing into people, you're not going to have your best performances on Friday night. So I think the last 3 years, we don't use all the opportunities that are available to us because of that. But we try to balance, getting teaching and installations and things where you do have more time, and you're not as, I guess, it's not as important to get the number of reps as it would be when we used to start installing in August. More along the lines of what Shannon, I know about with spring football. You've had, got more time, you can relax a little bit, you can really be thorough about teaching, and we're not so concerned about crashing into people. It's something that we try to balance. We don't do a lot of scrimmages against other people. We do pick and choose what we want to do to suit what our goals are. So we do some scrimmages, and like I said, we participated in the PSM 7-on-7, and we usually, we might do 1 7-on-7 a year, but not every year do we do that. Just kind of wait to see what fits our schedule. So it's really a bunch of balancing decisions as to how much that we want to do. Some of it depends on the team you had. Last year we had a whole bunch of quarterback receivers returning with experience. This year we don't. So, that went into some of the decisions we make as to how much we do.
Now, is June for you and your kids pretty much, that first part of June, go to camps, get out, do what you want to do as far as, an IU camp or a Ball State camp, or back in the day when I was still involved heavily with it, the Bishop Dullahan camp? Is that kind of what the month of June is, that you guys try to utilize some of that for the kids?
Well, our first priority is we work out 5 days a week. We're lifting and running 5 days a week. And we do something at Snider that is kind of all sport inclusive. So in the mornings, all athletes are there working out, and we do a speed agility program, an endurance program, and strength program. We operate it 5 days a week. So that's our number one priority for the summer. And then we kind of operate kind of like an NFL model where we do mini camps. So at the beginning of June, we have a mini camp where we do a schedule of installation. And then, we rep some things through some practices through June. And at the end of June, we do a second mini camp. And then we do another one in July. So we kind of spread out our installations over 3 periods. And in between those periods, we do some practicing. We do a scrimmage day down in Indianapolis. And then, those are during the week. And then the kids pick out, which camps they're going to go to. Sometimes we take groups of kids, but as far as the whole team, we go to our own camp. We kind of do our own camp at Taylor University, where we just go there for 3 days, 2 nights, nothing but team and football for that time period. We don't scrimmage against anybody, but it's really one of the best things we do about building team, finding out who you are, who your leaders are, establishing, what the identity of that next year's team is going to be. And we've done that for 15 years, and something that we really, really, really come out of thinking that we know who our team's going to be, and, at least what kinds of things we think are our strengths and weaknesses. And then, we go about our schedule of teaching things. So, that's kind of our priority. Make sure we're in physical shape but also, a very regimented schedule of teaching and learning and installation.
Snider head coach Kurt Tippman joining us here on the Upon Further Review. Coach, talking about the X's and O's, looking at your team this year, we have media day coming up this Friday. You're going to get that question, this question probably all day. But the run to semi-state last year, you guys come up a little short in overtime. What has that done for your team coming back this year as far as motivation or fuel or you and your coaching staff? What do you an experience like that? How do you apply it as you come back coming in June, July, and as the season approaches?
Well, there's probably not a day I've not thought of 4th and 9 on the 9 or 1st and goal on the 5 and get no points. So, it's posted in our weight room. It's something that we talk about routinely, but it's in the back of my mind all the time and what we do. And we were inches away from punching our ticket, and we just didn't get the job done. And anytime you're in that close of a situation and you return players that experience that, that makes them hungry throughout the off season. But every year is a new group. They have new goals. They have new identities, who the top players are going to be, who the guys on the field are going to be. And you have young guys coming up that have to learn from the guys that are experienced. And so, although those things are in the back of our mind, it's not, talked about daily. What's talked about daily is getting stronger, getting faster, getting more athletic, learning the scheme. And, the summer isn't about finding out who the starter is going to be. It's just about, making sure kids 3, 4, 5 deep, whatever it is at each position, get plenty of opportunities to learn it, rep it, and then when we get into the end of the summer in August, we start making decisions about who's going to be out there and what it's going to look like. But, it's stuff that's motivating. And when you're that close, I think it's a benefit because, everybody's got a bad taste in their mouth and, they know they were that close, but it takes, football's a game of inches, and your effort every day correlates to success in November. And that's what we got to think about. Tomorrow, July 17th, our effort in our workouts tomorrow has impact on what we're going to do in November. And that's kind of the way we approach it.
Sure. Coach, this new schedule, the divisions in the SAC now with that, they're breaking them up, and then that adds to the, 2 not out of conference games for just about everybody. I think Northrop and Wayne are the only ones that only have the 1 out of conference game. But for you, you pick up Warren Central, you pick up East Noble, going for the jugular right off the bat. Just talk about that part of the process in opening those 2 weeks up and what that's allowed you as from a scheduling standpoint to do, and really the goal of getting a team like Warren Central, in week 1.
Well, it was a goal of ours to, go against the best in the state, to pick great programs that would be as competitive a situation as we could imagine. The first 2 games, it's kind of cool. No non-conference. They have no impact on your conference, standings. And it's a great opportunity to really develop. And back when I first took over as the head coach, we were in the midst of when Harding and Elmhurst closed. We had 4 years of non-conference games, two non-conference games. And, we were fortunate to schedule Penn during those 4 years, Indianapolis Cathedral. And we really, really benefited from those experiences. Now, they weren't at the beginning of the season. They were spread out. They were kind of in the middle of the season. But every time we played those programs, we learned so much about our own team and what we needed to work on. And, we had some successful years in the playoffs in those 4 years. And I think a lot of that had to do with what we gained from those non-conference, really high competitive game situations. So that was our goal, and I think we found that. certainly Warren Central, is going to be in the top 3 probably in 6A in the preseason rankings. It rekindles a relationship we've had with Warren. We used to play him in the regular season back in the 80s and early 90s. It was always game 9 on our schedule, the last game of the season. So, I did that as a player at Snider. I remembered making that trip down to Warren and them coming to us, and then it continued. And it was just, it was a good rivalry and, pretty balanced. We played them in the state championship game in 2004, and always have had a lot of respect for the way they do things. And, they've won multiple state championships in 6A, and, they're one of the best programs in the state, most successful programs in the state. And so it was really good to get them. Now they got some dudes. So as we start scouting them, that decision back in March, is a little different when you're getting ready to play them in the first game of August. And then East Noble always had great amount of respect for Coach Amstutz and their program. And we've done things with them in the summer because of that. We've scrimmaged them probably for the past 6 or 7 years. We've got together late in the summer and had a scrimmage, and, well coached, very successful. And I think we hit a home run with that. 2 communities that I think will be both home and away will be well attended. And, it's something that the Kendallville and the Fort Wayne community can get around. And, it just should be a good game. And we're going to play them for 4 years. So something that we're really looking forward to as well. So I think we hit the exact goals we wanted to when the non-conference format came about, and we couldn't be happier with, the scheduling of it. Now we'll see what the results are, but, whatever happens, we'll learn a lot from it and be able to apply that to our, very tough SAC schedule and then the playoffs.
Kurt, I think, the way things have gone over for the, better part of the last 10 years or more, you didn't have these non-conference games. Was this something that internally you coaches talked about wanting to do and asking the athletic directors and of course the principals and things of that nature go into this decision? This just doesn't happen, sitting around a table, say, hey, let's go with the non-conference schedule. Kind of how did this all come about where you went to these opportunities and discussed doing the divisions and such?
Well, there's a couple occasions throughout the year that the coaches are in the same room in person. And, some of that is the all conference meeting that we have at the end of the season. And then we scheduled some other meetings. And I'll tell you, it was brought up originally by Roosevelt Norfleet when he was the head coach at Southside. And it wasn't about non-conference as much as it was splitting the SAC into a big division and a small division. And then, with that came the opportunity for non-conference. And I think the non-conference game, no matter which school it was attractive because, whether I'm a smaller school in the SAC, I have a chance to play some of those smaller schools that are more like me. If I'm a big school and I have to play a bunch of smaller schools in the SAC conference, it's a chance for me to play schools that more resemble what we're going to see in the playoffs. And one of the unique things about the SAC is the diversity in the size of the schools, yet still very competitive, right? But, spanning everywhere from 2A to 6A. And I don't know that there's a conference in the state quite like that, where your 2A team is very capable of winning the conference as they did a couple years ago.
Right.
And your 6A team are battling for a 6A championship like we had last year, and then everything in between. So, it's a really good conference, but it appealed to everybody in the room. And so Doug Dinan kind of took it and, he got his hands in the actual, scheduling of it and presented a couple different versions of what it might look like. And I think when people saw on paper what it looked like, it was very attractive to everybody. And, like I said before, appealed to every kind of school. And, credit to Doug and the guys that helped him, having it visible and on paper. He even had, an 8-year rotation of what it would look like over the course of 8 years. And, it really, really went a long way into people approving of it. And then as coaches, we took it to the athletic directors. And I think when, the coaches talk with their ADs individually and say how much they support it, it was pretty easy to get it passed.
Yeah. And there's a gentleman out there that we all well know that's been clamoring for this for a number of years in the media side of things, but he'll remain nameless, wanting this non-conference schedule for the last 5 or 6 years. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to bring an opportunity to see some new matchups, maybe some new rivalries get established. And I think it's going to bring a Friday night experience into Fort Wayne early on, were some teams that, they hear about, but maybe they've never got a chance to see in person. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing. Hey, just changing gears a little bit here because we're still in the summer aspect of things, but tomorrow night, we have the Hall of Fame inductee dinner and ceremony out at Gag Lines tomorrow night. And I know that's something that I believe Region 3 coaches really put a lot of time and energy and effort into that. Kind of give us a little breakdown on what, tomorrow night's going to be and how that all really celebrates the Fort Wayne area.
Well, the Indiana Football Hall of Fame has been around for a long time, and your dad's a member. You would know a lot about this, but, basically recognizing anybody that has contributed greatly to football in the state of Indiana, whether it be at the professional level, college level, high school level, media people, coaches, players, and the like. And it used to be housed in a physical residence in Richmond, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And then just recently has gone to a full virtual format, just a cheaper way of operating. And I think, more in tune with the times and the,
right.
The people weren't visiting Richmond, Indiana much for the Hall of Fame. And so financially it was a better decision. And so it also, the way the process works, the state is broken up into regions, and our Fort Wayne area is Region 3, as you mentioned. And then coaches or football people from the region nominate candidates every 2 years, and then have an induction. And so in our region, it was just because of the circumstances of how that went about. We really were heavy on coaching people getting into the Hall of Fame, but lacked, a bunch of players that were deserving. So another group of coaches got together. Paul Sade from Cherubusco kind of led it. But, coaches from the area, myself and Coach Zolman from Homestead, Coach Amstutz from Leo, Coach Amstutz from East Noble, Coach Dorfler from Leo, Coach Kolkman from Heritage. So, coaches from all different kind of aspects of the Fort Wayne area got together and formed a committee of other people that are outside of coaching, media people, that care about and have a good memory and good experience with football in the Fort Wayne area for a period of time. And so this group's going to continue to kind of push nominations from our area to the Hall of Fame. And this year, we have a class going in that's unprecedented with 9 people, highlighted by Johnny Bright that you see on your screen. And very few people know about Johnny Bright, but what an awesome story. He's from Central High School in Fort Wayne, and he's currently in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Very interesting story. ESPN did a 30 for 30 on him. CBS Sports has a long documentary about his life and his contributions to football, but he is kind of the headliner. And then guys like Vaughn Dunbar, Jason Fabini, Anthony Spencer, Jason Baker, Trey Essex. I mean, guys that all had long careers in the NFL. And then 2 coaches, the Dorfler family. Buzz is already in the Hall of Fame, the older brother. And then Dale and Dean, kind of mainstays in Fort Wayne coaching at Northside and Northrop and Concordia for many, many, many years. and two great representatives of the coaching, kind of quality of coaching that's been in the Fort Wayne area for a long time. So 9 guys going in, going to be an outstanding class, and all 9 are going to be present. Johnny Bright is deceased, but his daughter is going to be there.
That's awesome.
But Vaughn Dunbar traveling from Georgia to get there, and guys that not all live in the state anymore, but they're all going to be back, and it'll be a great celebration of their accomplishments because they're well deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, but also just a great celebration of football in the Fort Wayne area. And it's something that we're going to try to make an annual kind of timeline of this date. That second or third week in July, we're going to have an annual banquet where we will be inducting into the Hall of Fame players and coaches and media people that are deserving from this area. It won't always be 9 people.
And not a list like this either, I'm sure.
Right. We might not have some of the firepower we have in this one, but they'll, typically it'll be a class of 3, and but people that are, very deserving of being recognized and being in the Indiana Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, let's see. I was 0 for 3 recruiting. Pollard, Fabini were top 2 in those days. But we got some talented players and even coaches. I was Dean's first quarterback at Northrop High School way back in the day. Up there, look at
there it is.
Look at that handsome dude. That was about 80 pounds ago.
There you go.
But that's kind of neat to see those 2 guys get into the Hall of Fame, and they all had their impact on football here in the Fort Wayne area. Dean and his success more so at Concordia, which was later, where he took, like you said, here's a small school that eventually went through and did a great job and, made a run there at one time. So very, very exciting night tomorrow night out at Gaglines, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm bringing my dad out because he wanted to go to it, and so we're going to bring him, and hopefully he doesn't have a clock on you, Tippman, because he made me later. Those speeches better be pretty quick and short, right?
Yeah, with 9 of them, we could be there for a long time.
And Bernard Pollard speaking, so there you go.
We just don't get him talking about NASCAR or racing.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but it is great, and I think it's great that, and I know part of it was catching up in some respects just by virtue of COVID and everything else. Things kind of got pushed back a little bit, so to have this class all together, I think is really a testament to really what the committee has been able to do in the Hall of Fame, and having these guys all together. I think it really makes a good impression that Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana really has a strong high school football, and these guys were great in college and in the NFL and the Canadian Football League for Johnny Bright, and just changed the game in our area. So it'll be a nice ceremony tomorrow night, and it's thrilling to hear that we got that back on track a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, and it's something that that's a unique time to have those 9 people in a room at one time. But great celebration of football in our area.
Sure. Hey, Kurt, we appreciate you coming on, man, and talking a little bit about this. And when does your official camp date start, when you start getting into the thick of it?
We start July 31st, so that Monday.
That's right.
That'll be, there's no more 2-a-days anymore.
Right.
It's gone, but that's when we start kind of where we're practice every day, and that'll start into the your scrimmage at the end of that week, and then your scrimmage against another team the end of the next week, and then it's game week.
Yeah,
that third week. So August 18th, we'll be heading down to Indianapolis to play the Warren Central Warriors and kick off the 2023 season.
Yeah, I know it goes faster and faster, but thanks again for stopping on here and giving us a little update on kind of what have happened for the Panthers over the summer. Good luck for tomorrow night. I'll see you out there. Looking for a great time, but thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, and it'll be great to see you guys out there tomorrow night.
All right. That's head football coach Kurt Tippman from Snider High School, and I know he's probably got a lot of other things on his plate tonight. But getting ready for tomorrow, as like we said, that's just going to be a great night of football celebration from all those guys that had an impact here in the Fort Wayne area, whether it be coaches or players. And I know some of them still have an impact because they give back and things like that. But, dude, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it before, the talent that's come out of the Fort Wayne area is just immensely growing exponentially year after year, because those guys are beyond their prime right now. Pollard had a good career in the NFL. Famini had a pretty decent career, but we got Jesse Bates in the NFL right now, and what he's done has been crazy. Now with the Atlanta Falcons, you got Ben Skronik with the LA Rams. It's just really crazy, and Jalen's still here and there with last year's with the Giants. So it's really interesting what we've had come out of the Fort Wayne area over the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah, and it certainly has. And I think, Indiana, I always tell people whether they want to hear it or not, but, Indiana is seen as a basketball state, and rightfully so. But I think Fort Wayne, the larger Northeast Indiana, tends to be more of a football city within the basketball state. Now, we love our basketball here too, don't get me wrong. And a lot of those guys that you'll see go in the Indiana Football Hall of Fame tomorrow night were outstanding basketball players. Bernard Pollard at Southside, Anthony Spencer at Lures, and Johnny Bright. I think that Central team was along about that time. They won a state title. I don't know if he was necessarily on that team, but kind of there were really good teams in the 40s and 50s at Central High School, which is no longer open either. And so I think for us as a community to see these guys, first thing I thought of when I saw, got the advisory that they were having this little announcement a few weeks back out at the Anthus Career Center was that, wait a minute, aren't these guys already in the Indiana Football Hall of Fame? And what had happened kind of was that because of COVID and everything else, the ceremonies, they didn't have them for a couple years, and they didn't get a lot of people in. And so from Northeast Indiana and Region 3, they were trying to catch up. And so, this is a wonderful group when you think about it to kind of catch up on. And Johnny Bright, really changed the game of football in our area, not just, color barriers and just, a time of integration and segregation, battling through that. And then, just through the decades, the Dorfler brothers and Bernard Pollard, and just got his number retired a few years back. Anthony Spencer with those state championship teams at Lures, Fabini making a long career as a 6th-round pick, and then Trey Essex winning a couple Super Bowls and all of that. And so I think that's what's great about it too, is that those guys succeed anywhere they go and whatever they do. And we joked about Bernard Pollard, NASCAR. He's gotten in the hopper there. I think he's dabbling with some ownership in some of the lesser series in NASCAR. Yeah. So it's really cool to see what has come, and the fact that these guys are going to come back tomorrow night and celebrate their careers, and we all as Fort Wayne and the community get to celebrate their careers as well.
Yeah, and I think kind of leads into the one other thing that we were talking about. Why has Fort Wayne become a talented, rich area? And it's just not the Fort Wayne area. You can just say Northeast Indiana. And I think the fact that kids nowadays can work at their craft almost year round. You have all the different groups within the town of Fort Wayne that have the ability to train these athletes off and on. Parkview Sports Medicine has been involved in this as well. And you're seeing kids that are getting into the weight room. They're getting bigger, stronger. They're working on their speed. And it's, football's a game of reps. And the more times that you have a chance to, whether it's throwing a ball, running a route, working on explosiveness, those things are going to make you a better athlete And it's going to be those type of things that when you go off to camps and you're in front of college coaches that have the ability to recruit, and you come in and do have a great day at their camp, there's a high probability you may walk away with an offer or two. And that's what we've been seeing. And you know, this year's no different as it pertains to what has already been offered as a whole in the Fort Wayne area. And I've done some of this with the Coaches Corner, breaking some of these kids down, what makes them a talented prospect. You know, the Mylan Grahams and the Brayshawn Johnsons, those guys are easy to pick out. You know, they're just super talented no matter what, you know, on and off the field. But you have different other guys that have come to the forefront. You got, you know, Stratton Fuller. These are young kids now. These guys are coming off sophomore year, is going to be juniors. So they've actually got 2 more years left. You know, Jimmy Sullivan, you know, Steely, Ed Carroll, and what he brings to the table. You can, you know, the Caden Hurst, you know, I can go right down the line about all these kids that have come to the forefront. Brock Scott out at Leo as well, that came out of nowhere, and now he's got like 3 or 4 Power 5 offers. It's a tribute to the coaching that the kids are getting in the area, as well as the support they're getting outside of the field. So I think that lends itself to being a win-win for kids in the Fort Wayne area and the area to get opportunities to get better and get themselves in the weight room and put the time in and get themselves in a position that, you know, ultimately may all end up in a full ride type of scholarship type of deal.
Absolutely. And the exposure aspect of it too. The ability nowadays with social media, I mean, everything is at everybody's fingertips where they can pull up highlights of any kid, you know, because
absolutely
back a couple years, because it's just from Huddle and all these other different programs that are out, Max Preps and all of that. I mean, it's so easy to, in that regard, to get film on a kid, you know, very early on in the game. And that's what it is too, is it's such an early process too. And it's cool.
Well, we were talking about the sophomores already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and
normally it was the juniors.
Right. And realistically, yes, you're going to have somebody like Tay Johnson who commits to Notre Dame. But when those big time coaches come in and see him practice and see him play, oh, and by the way, well, there's Jordan King over there. Now Jordan King's going to Purdue commit.
Kamari Pearson.
You have other guys from other schools that, you know, because coaches are showing up at games, basketball as well, you know, it kind of opens the opportunities and gets eyeballs on people that may not have been seen before. And I think that's part of what's made Fort Wayne so successful too, is the ability. I mean, you look at that Hall of Fame class, a lot of those guys are in that same age group of the early 2000s and late 90s, right, where it kind of makes sense that, man, you know, okay, well, Bernard went to Purdue and Anthony went to Purdue, and Jason Baker had a shot at Iowa, and you know, Fabini got through Cincinnati and made it to the league. And so I think that's cool part of it too, is because then you get the track record started and people know this is a place that has really good talent coming out of not just Fort Wayne proper, but the Columbia cities and the Kendallvilles and Huntingtons and those type of towns as well.
Yeah. One more thing before we kind of move on here, but with that, you talked about these schools that are recruiting and they see other kids. You look at Jamar Pearson at Northside, you know, his offers have come probably off the fact that a coach saw him and he told him another person at a MAC level school, and, you know, out of nowhere, he gets an offer. Caden Hurst, same thing, you know, talented receiver. Well, Brock Scott brings attention to Leo, and next thing you know, they're looking, who's this kid, you know, that's running up and down the field, that's 6'1", 180 pounds. Those things happen. And I always would tell kids this: look, eyes are always on you. Even though you may not think you're getting the attention that somebody else next to you is, just remember, there's always eyes on you. Recruits, it could be other people that are associated in the recruiting aspect. The guys from 247 Sports or whatever. And then, of course, you've got film that kids are sending out through social media platforms and such. So, but anyway, I think, we've established that Fort Wayne is a targeted area for the Power Fives and also a targeted area for the mid-majors as well. And I think we'll continue to see that go. But before we head out of here tonight, let's talk a little bit about what you guys are putting on with Parkview Sports Medicine here at the end of the week with Media Day.
Yeah, this coming Friday, July 21st, is the Northeast Indiana High School Football Media Day. It'll be at Empowered Sports Club on Lima Road, and just an opportunity. The media comes out, and it's just a great day to meet with players and coaches from throughout the area to kind of, just like we had Coach Tippman on tonight from Snider, just kind of get the lay of the land and what the guys have been doing this summer, to talk to some of the guys like, Jordan King and Ethan Dodson, an Air Force commit on the Snider offensive line, and Brock Schott, the offers that he's gotten over the summer, and Jimmy Sullivan and those kind of guys, just to talk a little shop with them in the football realm and just see how they're doing and coming along as teams. And it's been great because we get together every couple of years. We host it at Empowered in our facilities and get the media there. And of course I used to do it when I worked on the television side of things with 21 Alive. And so it's a cool day. And I know, we'll be out there as well, getting stuff for us, and I'll be doing it for my day job at PSM as well. But just a really cool opportunity to talk to the kids, because there again, like you fast forward, you look back at a year ago and some of the kids you talk to, the Caden Hurst of the world, the Brock Schatz of the world, the Jamari Pearsons of the world. And you fast forward a year and you're like, man, what a year it's been for them. And what has that been like for them since the last year that we talked to them at Media Day? So really looking forward to it. And I know, Glenn Marini at News Channel, Wayne TV is kind of the one that organizes it anymore amongst the media folks. So appreciate him being able to kind of ringlead on that. And we've had a good summer, and we're looking forward to it. But yeah, this Friday, not open to the public type of thing, but one of those things where the media all comes together and gets our sound bites and talks to the kids. And of course, all that stuff will be shared in the coming days and weeks as we get closer to the week 1 of high school football season, which I think is, let me pull that up, August 18th. So it's less than a month away, and I know we're back at it with our friends over at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 radio station, and it just moves so quick, Coach.
Well, the one thing I was going to say here is last year where I got really high on the Carroll Chargers was when they walked into Media Day and I saw how big they were. And I was like, my gosh, these guys look like a small-time college team walking into the room. And you just knew they were an impressive bunch of kids. But, yeah, we're all going to be out there. Again, I'll be working with Brett Rump and 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. Sports Rush will be doing their normal duties out there. They'll take kind of care of the Summit athletic coaches. I'll take care of some of the area coaches, so we get a good spread of everybody on Media Day. But also for us here at Upon Further Review, we're going to still integrate some of those things into our platform to get ourselves prepared for our season preview, which will be to determine, I guess you could say. We'll have our regular preseason preview of the Summit Athletic Conference and some of the area schools coming up at a date to be determined. We'll just stay tuned to Twitter and stuff like that, and we'll let you know about that. But just a reminder again, if you can help us out by liking and subscribing and retweeting and all those things, that goes a great deal. I'm going to have a couple more coaches corners where I break down some of the athletes that have gotten recruited coming out of the summer months and spring. But again, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Upon Further Review, SAC is a good way to search for us, as well as podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few. And we are working again with Mike Ragsdale out at 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, to bring our show back to 1380 this fall, all dependent upon kind of where the 10 caps start and end, and that all is to be determined. So we're still looking forward to that and locking that up. But Eric, I guess I'll see you out there tomorrow night at the Hall of Fame, and we'll kind of chart a course for our preseason preview here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Another great season, and looking forward to doing this with you guys, and yeah, we'll see you this week. A busy week for high school football. Hall of Fame on Monday night. Congratulations to the class of 2023. And then High School Media Day on Friday. Look for all of our coverage on the PSM channels, but also here on the Upon Further Review channels as well. So for Shannon Griffith, I'm Eric Dudkevich, better known as Doot. We'll see you later this summer with more Upon Further Review.